I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, we consider the effect of no season on players' careers.
And we look at what staying home has done to the value of baseball cards. We love creating Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast each week and hope you're enjoying it as well. We'd love to hear from you. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com, or message us at any of our social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook at Sibling Rivalry BB, and on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Or check out our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, for links to all those and more. Thanks again for listening. Tell a friend. Rate us, follow us, or subscribe to Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast on your favorite listening platform. Here are the latest SRBB headlines.
The MLB draft will be held remotely on June 10th and include the first round of 37 picks.
Rob Manfred tells CNN he is optimistic about a 2020 season and that players with health concerns will not be forced to suit up.
64 teams for Dream Bracket 2 are now set. The tournament begins today and runs through June 9th. 2 teams per organization, 3 Negro League teams, and 1 team from the Montreal Expos.
We bid farewell to Bob Watson, first black GM to win a World Series. Did that with the Yankees. Played 19 seasons primarily with the Astros. We also send out condolences to Starling Marte of the Diamondbacks on the passing of his wife, Noelia. As we wait to see if we'll have a season, and it's a very real possibility we won't, we know the financial consequences no season will have on the players and the owners. But what about the effect on some players' pursuit of personal milestones and possibly the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, there's several players out there that are chasing milestones. One in particular, when you're looking through, Albert Pujols of the Angels tops that list.
Right, because while he leads in the big categories currently, he still probably wants to hit. He's 656 on his home runs.
Yep, 656.
So if you're shooting for 700, which is a number that I've heard connected, I've never heard him say it, but it's a number that obviously comes up. This lost season definitely hurts that. He has 2 years on his contract. If he doesn't play this one, he has to figure out how to hit, 40 some odd home runs.
Yeah, and he's also close to 700 doubles with
right.
He's currently sets at 661.
Right. So that's maybe a little closer to doable. The question is, with everything for all of these players, especially people like Pujols, the older guys, or people that have had injury issues, will this extra time off help them more than hurt them? Probably from an injury standpoint and a physical standpoint, it's probably going to help them as long as they're continuing to work out in that, because they're not having to go the day to day. And so it could very well help him play another couple of years and hit those numbers. So he's going to have 2 more years that he's going to need probably to get there. This off season, well, for any player, will have an effect on their total numbers. But when you're at the end trying to get the 2,100 RBIs, 700 doubles, like you said, and then the 700 home runs, honestly, I just want him to pass Alex Rodriguez on all of those because I don't like Alex Rodriguez.
Right. Well, and one thing I saw that was interesting, this is kind of one of those odd stats that I don't think players really think about, but Pujols is in the top 5 career sacrifice flies, and he is 7 away from being in the top 5. And everyone that is in the top 5 currently are all in the Hall of Fame. So that bodes well for Albert.
Right. I think he's in.
Yeah, I don't think he needs the sacrifice flies, but it's just something to.
I think he was probably in after his first 10 years with the Cardinals. If
Oh,
he'd have,
yeah.
if he'd have left baseball right there, he'd have been in the Hall of Fame already.
Oh,
But
yeah. And you could see when they went and played the Cardinals, the reception that he received in St. Louis, which he should, that's the kind of reception he should have received anyway. I mean, they love him there. And he's
right.
done good things for the Angels too. So, yeah, good all around baseball guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
Now, one
So
thing I do want to mention, this is another one of those odd stats, but it's connected to a Hall of Famer, and I guess both future Hall of Famer and a Hall of Famer, is Pujols could be the first to ground into 400 double plays. And first, the guy that right now at the top of that board, Cal Ripken Jr. with 350.
oh wow.
Yeah, Albert is at 395.
Rapidly approaching.
Yeah, so he's got these good, the home runs and the doubles, and then he's got these kind of odd ones. But the odd ones are interesting because a lot of the guys are all in the Hall of Fame. They're big name guys.
Well, I guess you figure the more at bats you have,
yeah,
the sacrifice
more
flies is kind of cool because you're still, that's a productive stat.
Right.
Double plays is kind of a dubious stat. Yeah, and you know what? That's a stat that even if they play a short season this year, I'm confident he can break that this season.
He could, well, then he'd be number one, and he'd knock Cal Ripken Jr. off the throne of
I
that
wonder if
stat.
they stop play, give him the ball from the top.
For grounding out, yeah. Well, they have to sanitize it first.
Another player, talking primarily to start with Angels and Dodgers, is Clayton Kershaw. Yep. He is about 12 years into his career.
Mm-hmm.
He is shy of 200 wins. That would be the next milestone for him. He's 169 wins. So he's working on 200, working to get to like 2,500 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's currently at 2,464.
Right. So he wouldn't have got there this season. He's not as dominant as he used to be. We don't know if this off time will assist him, especially with his back, because he's always had those back issues.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't help him, though, as it looks like things are starting to kind of tail off for him a little bit, losing a whole season if he wants to hit those numbers.
Right. Yeah. If losing a whole season would be, I don't want to use the word detrimental, but that's the only word that comes up in my head. But as far as milestones, yeah, it puts a big dent in those numbers for him, because he has had the back injuries. He has had the, where he's been on the injured list. And then also too, even if there is a season, how much is he going to pitch, and what does the downtime that they had, how does that look when you get back on the field? So all of that comes into play, I think, definitely for him because of those injuries that he's had.
Other than that, when I looked at the Angels and the Dodgers, there really aren't, obviously, players like Mike Trout, they're pursuing their career. We don't know what this year would have looked like for him. If everybody's back healthy, Anthony Rendon is now part of the lineup. How does having better protection or better hitters around him help? You figure it's pretty amazing that how much he's done just carrying the team by himself with a little bit of help here and there, but not like he could get this year. So obviously missing a whole year for any of these players is a problem. We'll talk more about how it'll affect players that are in contract years in a little bit. For the Dodgers are kind of in the same way. You've got so many young players that a lot of the, Clayton Kershaw, he's hitting those milestone areas where you start looking, like we said, at 200 wins, 2,500 strikeouts, things like that. But there's not really, Kenley Jansen's already got 300 saves. That's kind of a magic number there. You're not going to get up like Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman in the 600 save area. Even Francisco Rodriguez, who was a rookie with that 2002 Angels World Series team, is talking about a comeback because he wants to shoot for, he's got 400 and some odd saves. He wants to shoot for bigger numbers because he wants to put himself in Hall of Fame conversation.
Yeah. The only one that you could, I guess, Dodger when you think about milestones, because there are a lot of young players, is Justin Turner. He's 17 hits away from having 1,000 hits. And he also is 22 RBIs away from 500. And I don't know if he ever thought, with all the bouncing around he did, if he ever thought he would make those numbers. For Justin Turner, I think that's an accomplishment in itself.
Well, if you look, he really didn't get any of those, any numbers that could help push him towards that till he got to the Dodgers anyway.
Right.
He's in the, what would you call it? The Hall of the Decent, Hall of the Good, Hall of Good player.
Yeah, I think he would agree with that.
It makes you wonder if he'd have been, and, not knowing as much about other than the stats of his earlier career.
Mm-hmm.
How much of it was it him just not getting in and doing that? How much of it was, could you put on the team and say they just weren't really good at developing the talent? What if he'd have come to LA earlier?
Yeah, it's a lot of what ifs, I think.
Yeah,
with him.
I think that's the greatest thing about this game. A lot of what ifs, right?
Yeah, lots.
What if the Astros hadn't cheated in 2017?
We would have had a World Series parade.
The Red Sox hadn't cheated in 2018.
We would have had a World Series parade.
We'd have been wearing back-to-back World Series champion T-shirts right now.
Yes.
And who's to say that had they won, that wouldn't have motivated them to try for the three-peat in 2019?
Right.
What if?
What if? We could do a whole show on what if.
The Angels didn't trade off Mike Clevenger and Patrick Corbin early on.
I want to throw out another Albert Pujols stat. And it's interesting because he has 142 errors and he needs 8 to get to 150. So I thought, well, who would top the list of the most errors in baseball? And that distinction goes to Herman Long. He had 1,996 errors, 1,096 errors. He was a shortstop, and he played most of his career for the Boston Beaneaters.
Nice. What name is up there that we would know that's got more than 150 errors?
After I saw Herman Long, I had to do more research on Herman Long.
Just to find out who he was.
And then after I learned that he played for the Boston Beaneaters, which is the greatest name. I mean, I don't think they should have the Red Sox. I think they should be the Boston Beaneaters. I had to learn more about Herman Long.
We should all find some obscure player that's got a stat like that that's at the top and go do a little research, learn a little more baseball history. Yep. That's a lot of errors over 13 seasons.
Well, he played.
How did he play 13 seasons?
He played 13 seasons with the Boston Beaneaters. Before that, he played for the Kansas City Cowboys. He played for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he played a year there, here and there. So he had a longer career than just 13 years.
Okay, still
it's like 16.
Albert
I think it was
Pujols,
16 seasons.
16 seasons. See, that makes it a little better. Still a lot of errors every year. Figure Albert Pujols is 8 away from 150.
Yeah.
And he's played almost 20 seasons now. He distinguished himself. I wonder what his nickname was.
The Flying Dutchman.
I don't know that that's what his nickname should be.
He certainly didn't throw like a windmill. Flying Dutchman. That's what I think of is a windmill, but I don't know that goes. I'm not sure why he was called the Flying Dutchman, but looking through,
Dutch, I'm guessing.
Probably looking through the list, there's all these guys that you're like, who is this? It isn't until you get to 133 on the list, and that is Pee Wee Reese, and he had 407 errors.
Wow.
It's an interesting list if you go through because there's a lot of guys on here. Here's a good name too. Oyster Burns. He was a right fielder, a shortstop, and a third baseman. But you could go on and on looking just
that
at
sounds
the
like a
Bears
whole
list.
Other show as well.
It is, but it's like you said before in another episode, you you find something and then you go down the rabbit hole, and that's what happened to me when I was like, oh look, Albert Pujols, he just needs 8 to get to 150 errors. So I had to find out who has the most.
Who's
So
the
Herman
all-time
Long.
leader in errors?
Yep. So learn
With
something today.
Absolutely. So when we looked at kind of just the Dodgers and the Angels and guys, obviously, like we said, everybody's affected in the career wise as to how their numbers will come up. Some are less affected than others. Some other players around the league that are close to hitting some different milestones that definitely will be affected by a lost seasoner like Miguel Cabrera. I believe he's in the
Yeah.
Hall of Fame. I don't think that he's got the triple crown. He's always been there. He's been a great player. He's a great baseball guy. His numbers are great, but I'm sure he wants to hit. He's 13 away from the 500 home run club. He's got 477 right now. I'm sorry, 23 away, not 13.
Yeah.
23 away from the 500 home run club. He's got a 1,694 RBI. So a couple of seasons, depending on how he hits and what he does, he could get to 2,000 RBIs.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
signed through 2023, so it's possible. He's 38, but he has had these later years, he's had the injuries that does not having a season definitely impacts those numbers. And he's 185 hits from having 3,000 hits.
right.
So
And
that's
just
another.
about 23 double. He's 23 doubles from 600.
So
So he's
lots
got a
of
lot of
different
those high
stats.
numbers. He's gonna be in there. The lost season means he doesn't get anything for this year. Another one I saw that is close to some of the numbers, but is up there as well, is like Robinson Cano. He's up there in his upper 30s, and he's got 562 doubles, 2,570 hits.
Mm-hmm.
He's he's a 2 or 3 seasons away from getting the 3,000 hit mark.
Yeah, another guy that I think he's a dominant pitcher, but he flies under the radar, and maybe it's because he plays for the Nationals, but that's Max Scherzer, and he's 308 strikeouts from having 3,000 strikeouts. And if he could do that during his career, he would join Justin Verlander as being the only 2 active players with 3,000 strikeouts right now.
Right, because Verlander's got just over like at 3,006, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's that. Greinke's not too much further behind. He's about 70 strikeouts behind Scherzer, and Scherzer's about 30 wins away from hitting the 200 mark. The question is, he's been such a workhorse the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
and he pitched. I mean, he was. I would say he was one of the main reasons that the Nationals won the World Series last year, because not only because of his attitude and that, but he was out there. He was their version of Oral Hershiser. He was their bulldog last season,
Yeah,
and he threw a
definitely.
lot of pitches. I think that Scherzer's in the Hall of Fame when his
I agree with
career's
that.
up, regardless of whether he hits those numbers. But from this standpoint, the lost season would be, once again, give his arm a break. Who knows what can
Mhm.
happen? And we know with
Yeah.
pitchers, sometimes having a decent time off, having a little extra rest will work for you. And sometimes it completely throws you off and you never really recover. Pitchers are
Yeah.
odd that way. So yeah, I
Yeah.
Scherzer first, I think, is there. I think Zach Greinke's another one who's coming up. He's over 200 wins. He's got 205 wins, like we said, about just over 2,600 strikeouts. So he can push the strikeouts. The wins, he's never going to get to 300. In fact, most of the pitchers that are out there now aren't going to see 300 wins. I think
Yeah.
the I think right now the leader, the active leader, even though he's not playing anywhere, is Bartolo Colon, has
Mm-hmm.
240 wins. So he's not gonna. These other guys that are down there around 200, especially in the age group of Verlander, Greinke, Scherzer is a little bit younger, but still, it's going to take a lot for them to get there. And a lot of times these players, the pitchers aren't able to throw enough innings.
Right. Justin Verlander has said that he wants to pitch until he's 45. I don't know that that will happen. He seems
Is
to
he on the
be in,
TB12 diet?
he might be, but he's on the injured. I mean, if there was an injured list, I guess he's probably still on it. I don't know. I haven't even looked, but he had that groin injury. So
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know if that
if you
bodes
were on the
well.
IL before, you're still on the IL until, because everything's frozen anyway. You can't make any moves.
Right. Yeah. Because before it was they're on the IL till like May 15th. So it's kind of like the stay at home orders in each state. You know, you you're at home on the 15th
You're
of May, you're going to be at home until, for us, it's May 31st. For you, it's even longer.
until the 12th of never.
Yeah, that's right.
We're looking at Verlander, Scherzer, Greinke, John Lester from the
Mm,
Cubs. He's
yeah,
10 wins away from 200. He's still got about 645 um, strikeouts until he gets to 3,000. So that's a little ways off. I think that he's probably in a good spot for the Hall of Fame. Maybe not a first balloter, but he's got some things. And his postseason, he's won in Boston, twice, and one in the Cubs. So he's got 3 World Series rings. It's another one of those things when you're trying to build your resume for the Hall of Fame. A lost season's not going to help, especially when you're towards the end of your career.
so another odd fact that I kind of started down that rabbit hole is a teammate of John Lester, Anthony Rizzo. He has been hit by 145 pitches over his career, along with Shin Soo Choo, who of the Texas Rangers. He has 150 hit by pitches. So both of them could become top 20 all-time hit by pitches if they surpassed Fernando Vina, who was a former Cardinal and Brewer, who's currently at number 19 with 157 hit by pitches in his career. So another dubious distinction.
Rizzo might have the time to do that. I don't know about Chu. Chu's getting up there in years in the league.
Yeah, he'd only need to be hit 8 times.
Well, okay, but in a short season, that might be a problem. He plays next
and
season, maybe.
and he doesn't play for the Astros. If he played for the Astros, I think he would be surpassed
Record
several.
breaking. Record breaking.
Yes.
Who is the leader all time of hit by pitches?
Huey Jennings, 287.
I think
And
he
then
just stood on the plate.
he probably did, but Craig Biggio, 285. Tommy Tucker is number 3 at 272. And then Don Baylor at number 4, 267.
You don't have to search as much for hit by pitch leaders to find Hall of Famers
Nope.
as you do when you do the errors.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are interesting, and sure for Rizzo's what, about 30?
I think he's
So
around 30.
he's probably got some more time to pursue that, hit by pitch number as a milestone, and other numbers, obviously. But that's the one thing, when you're that far along in your career, that's what we're talking about, right? That
Yeah.
missing a whole season, the younger guys, the guys who are in their 20s still, while this could hurt them in the big picture of not being able to hit 40 home runs this season or whatever they're shooting for, it's definitely not going to hurt their batting average if they've done well. So that's a silver lining.
Right.
But it's going to be an issue. Before we started, we were talking about Mike Trout, and I looked just to see he's got 285 home runs over a 9-year career. For him to hit 700, he needs another 415 home runs. Averaged out, say, another 9 season, he still has to hit 50, 60 home runs. So a season. And he's never hit 50. Last year he might have had he not gotten injured with his foot issue. But that's a lot of home runs he's going to have to hit. And missing a whole year could definitely impact if he wants to get to 700.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And again, there's always those what ifs that we talked about. What if no season? But what if there's how many games will he actually play if there is a season? He does have a baby boy that's due to arrive in August. So that will cut into that, time
Right.
that he's away. So, yeah, there's a lot of different factors there. I do want to mention one more. Joe Madden, who is now the Angels manager, he could lead all managers with 300 managerial challenges. He's currently at 267.
Who's next? Who's second?
Rays manager Kevin Cash.
I guess challenges are a big thing in
And
Tampa.
yeah, so it said if Madden can hold Cash off long enough he'd be the inaugural member of the 300 Challenge Club.
Nice.
So,
well, he's got time. Sure, this missed season doesn't help him, but he's got time.
Yep. So Cash started managing in 2015, a year after replay was instituted, and he averaged 52.8 per 162 games, and Madden was 44.5. So we'll see who gets to be number one in that category.
I wonder if they get close if they start doing challenges just to do challenges.
They might.
Just because they want to get that record.
Yeah, and Joe Madden is, according to Baseball Reference, on his challenges, he's a little over 50% correct or, wins the challenge. So he's got a good track record going into it.
Not bad. So he's batting over 500.
Yeah. So something for Angels fans to look forward to. Another milestone you can track during the season. Nice. Not just your players, but your manager too.
So every time he challenges, we'll know that's one more closer.
And again, what would they do if he got to 300? Will they stop the game?
Maybe give him one of the headsets.
Yeah, maybe one of the headsets the umpires use. Yeah, or they could start like a little trophy.
It's not like football where they throw challenge flag. If that was the case, they could do like a gold challenge flag for him or something like that.
Yeah, then it'd be framed. That'd be awesome.
A few other players that are in the position of potentially being in the Hall of Fame or hitting a milestone. I think these guys are more towards Hall of Fame versus any of the big milestones. Mm-hmm. Joey Votto would be one who's towards the end of his career. He is about 16 home runs short of the 300 home run mark. So that would be something, plus 944 RBIs now. So he could shoot for that 1,000. Freddie Freeman of the Braves, another one that he's only at 227 home runs. Strong batting average, solid player for all the years. He's one that missing a season could hurt his chances to be considered for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you look at Nick Markakis is another one, 3,000 hits. He's at 2,355. So that would put it in. He's older guy too. Right. So, and Joey Votto is 404 doubles right now. So you could close in on 500.
500, right. There's a lot of these guys. The older guys are the guys you gotta look at, like Andrew McCutchen. He's close to 1,000 RBIs. Well, he's just under 200 away from that. But having the issues with his injury issues, in fact, he's a guy who probably at one point seemed like he was on the road to being a Hall of Famer and has had issues over the last couple of seasons that may have stopped him.
Yeah.
And this season could have been, like we talked about, there's a lot of players that are coming off of injury seasons or down years, this is the year that they needed going into the next couple of years where it's a contract year or going into free agency at the end of this season. One of the bigger questions of no season is how it affects players about to become free agents. We know based on the agreement between the league and the players will get credit for the year, which has brought up questions about Mookie Betts not ever really being a Dodger, among other players. It also brings up the question about how the free agency money will be affected.
Yeah, the Dodgers going into next season have 8 free agents. Mookie Betts, of course, tops that list. And then Justin Turner is another big name because he is, as we've said before, the face of the Dodgers. And then you have Kike Hernandez, Jock Peterson, who, again, is, they're all of those guys are consistent, constant, fan favorites. Blake Trinan, Alex Wood, Pedro Baez, and Jimmy Nelson are the 4 that round that out
now,
for the Dodgers.
Jimmy Nelson is this coming year is an option year, even though I guess he's kind of a free agent at that point, but it's a club option.
Yeah.
So if Jimmy Nelson, if they don't pick it, see, that's one of those things where we talk about, does it hurt them? Because what if they look at everything and go, well, based on what we saw, because he's been injured.
Right.
And based on what we saw or didn't see in spring training, then we're not going to pick up his option. That hurts him because he didn't ever get a chance to prove to the Dodgers that he could do anything.
Yeah, exactly. I think of all the guys on the list that he would be the one that would hurt the most because of the injury and then, no season. You're right. The Dodgers aren't going to be able to see what he has. And even his career previously to coming to the Dodgers wasn't, a decent pitcher, but nothing that's standout, I guess.
Right.
As you would say.
Blake Trinan's another one.
Yeah.
Just signed. He's coming off a bad year.
Yeah.
Injuries. We've seen what he can do in the past. Question is, could he have done it this season?
Exactly. Does he follow up and have
even in a short season? Even in a short season, does it help some of these guys who are only there for 1 year?
Yeah. Alex Wood, he came in, he was with the Dodgers, was traded to Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, did not have a good year. Injuries there. He's coming back to the Dodgers, but the Dodgers know who he is. They know what he's capable of.
Well, so and he earned a spot, right? He earned
he's earned a spot.
We talked about that last week in regards to Ross Stripling. Alex Wood had been announced as the 5th starter.
Yep. Pedro Baez, as much as, in years past, it was like, oh, not Pedro. But now, last season and even the season before, he's really come into his own where he's not getting booed. He's been booed before at Dodger Stadium. Now he's really stepped it up. So he's another one I think the Dodgers would probably re-sign.
Right. I would ask, that would be the question I'd ask Andrew Friedman is on most of these guys, how do you not pursue them? You know what they can do. Who's out there that you think you can get? Because look, we saw with Joe Kelly, who had somewhat of a proven track record. And I know a lot of what they saw and probably got Friedman more interested in Joe Kelly was what they saw during the World Series and the playoffs.
Right. Yeah.
He had his moments.
Yeah.
But he didn't come in and play, for at the beginning, it was like, oh my God, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
And then it got where he was basically came in, he did his job and he was done.
Yeah. With Joe Kelly coming to LA after winning the World Series with the Red Sox. And a lot of times, you kind of have those off years after you win the championships. I'm not sure exactly why that happens. But I wonder too if he was feeling extra pressure because he is a local kid. I mean, he's from Corona, but
Right.
grew up in the area, and so. But yeah, I mean, he was really. It was really bad at times. Cover your face when he was pitching. So
Right. I mean, there were times when Yimi Garcia actually looked better than
yeah,
Joe Kelly.
that's a huge. That's saying something too.
But yeah, you're right about like Pedro Baez. That's one of those guys where it's like you now know you've developed him. He's become a solid reliever that when he came in, you didn't go, oh.
Yeah.
Because I
No.
remember through the years, we'd be watching games and you would text me, no, not Petey,
Yeah. Not
things like
Petey.
that, and now it's not you're not holding your breath as much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's really coming around. The other guy is Jock Peterson. I think it would be interesting to see if the Dodgers do re-sign him, only because they had traded him or were going to trade him to the Angels, which would have been a good landing spot for him. But he does have, really good numbers. He has a 353 on base percentage and a 507 slugging percentage against righties. Against lefties, we know doesn't do well. It's like
Abysmal.
572 OPS career against lefties. So it'd be interesting. Do they keep him, or, is there a team out there that's looking at him thinking, yeah, maybe he'd be a good fit? Maybe even the Angels would look at
Right.
him again.
Yeah, that would be dependent upon what happens with Joe Adele.
Right.
So yeah, I think we obviously know that the big question for the Dodgers with the free agents is going to be Mookie Betts.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I don't think that for Mookie and really for Mookie, for Justin Turner, for Jock or Kike, and maybe even Pedro Baez, but I don't think any of those guys are hurt in free agency by an off season.
No, they're not. I mean, you look at salaries too and where these guys are. And, Mookie Betts is going to command a large salary. I mean, he's like 27 million right now for his salary for the season. But these guys, I mean, Kike Hernandez signed a $5.9 million 1 year contract. Jock Peterson went to arbitration, but 7 million. So when you're looking at those guys with the in that salary range, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to hurt them going into free agency. Now, with Mookie Betts, a lost season, it could hurt. And also because the lost season, the revenue isn't there. Our team's going to want to shell out a large amount of cash when we're looking at the revenue loss. That could be from anywhere from, I've heard, $2 to $4 billion for the owners are saying.
Right. But that's total. That's across the board, not just
Right.
one
No,
team
not
or
just,
another. And the Dodgers are a team that probably can afford more than say the Royals or the Brewers, the
right.
smaller market teams. They could probably let that go. That's where, but you're right. As far as like money goes, some of these guys who thought they were going to have a good season this year and go into free agency and get a decent raise, that might not happen. With
Yeah.
Mookie Betts, I think it can happen that he may not see the 40 million a year that he was looking at,
Yeah.
but he can still see into the mid 30s maybe because we already know what he is and we know what they did to get him.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in one way, it's not as much of a lost. It's not like we paid him for a year and then he left because he's not going to make that much money
Yeah.
until they actually play some games. And we don't know how all that's going to play out anyway. So with him on that, Justin Turner, I don't think it hurts him just because he wasn't going to get what do you make? He makes around 20 million, I think, now per year.
Yes, yep,
He probably wasn't going to get signed for that much again based on his age, based on if he wants to stay with the Dodgers, they're probably going to say, "Yeah, we want to keep you, but at 10 or whatever."
right.
And I think he probably realizes, "Hey, I need to, accept that if I want to stay here."
Yeah. And I think again, I mean, we talk about it all the time, but with Justin Turner, he really is the face of the Dodgers on these the Zoom parties. I just went to one on Monday with the Dodgers.
Right.
He is the constant player. I mean, you have, it's kind of like the Hollywood stars,
Right.
seeing all the players there, but who's always in the middle? Justin Turner. He's
Right.
the
He's been
constant.
there for every single one of them.
Yeah. So going forward, I can't see the Dodgers not offering him, not as much, but I also can't see him not accepting that he would want to stay in the area.
I believe he wants to stay in LA. He wants to be a Dodger and finish out his
Yeah.
career as a Dodger.
Yeah. I mean, he's 35. So,
Right.
he's getting up there. He's had injuries. He broke his wrist. That was unfortunate. Still a good third baseman. He's showing a little bit of age in that corner, but still a fan favorite. And the other thing I'd say about Mookie Betts with the Dodgers is the Dodger fans. I feel like we've been through a lot. Like there's all these names that came up. I mean, hindsight, I was never on the Bryce Harper train to get him signed as a Dodger, but I know a lot of fans were like, we got to get Bryce Harper. And then when they do sign somebody, it's like, oh, it's sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But it's like, I would hope that Andrew Friedman maybe sees that Mookie Betts is a good fit in LA and that the fans want to see that. We want to see him play.
Yeah, absolutely we do. Now, the Angels don't have as many players of note. They don't have anybody that's coming in for 1 year. They signed Anthony Rendon to a longer term contract, so it's not like a one and done type situation with him. The biggest name for the Angels is going to be Andrelton Simmons. And this is where we look at this lost season. He had a hard season last year and he was starting to really become a much better hitter, a solid, consistent hitter. He gets injured, takes him time to come back to get going. He has a down year. Still a solid shortstop, still one of the best in the league, if not the best.
Yeah.
He makes $15 million a year, having nothing to show for how a follow-up season would be. The question is, how does that affect him? Will the Angels follow up with him? The Angels have a couple of players. They can play David Fletcher there. Luis Rengifo can slide into second base, let's say, because Tommy La Stella, another guy who ended up last season, had a shortened season because he got injured right around the All-Star break, broke his leg, and he was going to All-Star. He's going to be done too. So who knows how this will, no season will affect him. It's going to be hard for both of them. And it'll be tough on the Angels to decide, especially seeing who else might be out there. There are two players that the Angels have that were signed for 1-year deals that conceivably wouldn't be back next season. That would be Jason Castro and Julio Teheran.
Yeah.
Those guys are both veterans. We needed, a veteran catcher. I believe, there's other catchers that are coming up that might be people they would pursue as free agents. Will they follow up and try to re-sign Jason Castro? Will they, go after like Wilson Ramos if the Mets don't pick up his option? Julio Teheran's another one that he's about 30. He's been solid innings eater. Could have been a good anchor for this team, especially with some younger pitchers.
Well, and I'm thinking of Andrelton Simmons. He is one of three of the notable free agents at the shortstop position. So if the Angels were looking, they could look at trades, obviously, but if they were looking at another free agent, it doesn't make sense for them to look when they have out of the three there, the best one.
Right. Yeah, unless they're going to trade for Francisco Lindor, I don't see that there's a reason for them to not.
Yeah.
So, that's the question. What will no season, what will the effect be?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, when you look at the Angels, like you said, there aren't as many, but then if you look outside of the Dodgers and the Angels, you do look at, Francisco Lindor. Also, another guy that's a shortstop, I didn't even think about this, was Didi Gregorius,
Right.
who he signed a 1-year deal with the Phillies. And I mean, he was having awesome year. I mean, he was just killing it. And then he had Tommy John surgery. And that
Right.
really, I think, going into free agency right now, he's got, $14 million deal for 1 year. It's very possible he may have to do another 1 year deal because the recovery from Tommy John and, a lot of it, you're taking a risk there to see, does he catch fire again? Because he was on a tear.
He's one of those guys who will benefit from this long layoff as far as recovering.
Yeah, definitely.
You talk about the Phillies, Real Muto
Mm-hmm. Yep.
is going to be a free agent as well. And while he had a decent season last year, that's a question. Are they going to be happy to get rid of his contract, or are they going to want to bring him back? And then that puts him in a spot. If the Angels don't re-sign Jason Castro, they could pursue.
Yeah, they could pursue him. That would, that could work.
Yeah, there's
But
there's a few guys out there on these different teams that you wonder about whether they signed a 1-year deal, depending on what team they went to, what type of player, what kind of year they had the last year that they played. How will that affect them going forward? Matt
well,
Kemp with Miami is
yeah,
a good example. Didn't really play last year, had injury issues, got released, ends up in Miami. He's not even on their 40-man roster right now.
yeah. Last season definitely hurts him because does he even get signed? Is he, looking for an invitation to spring training, or does he hang it up? Another one, a starting pitcher on a 1-year deal, Trevor Bauer. Hear a lot about him. He's always out there. He was with the Reds. Now he has said that he only wants 1-year contracts. Problem is that it only works if the teams value 1 year of Bauer as much as he thinks they do. Because with the Reds, he had a 6.39 ERA over 56 and a third innings. And no team is really, I think, going to be clamoring to get Bauer on the mound. I mean, maybe, but I think, yeah, we can do something with him. But he's, last season, over 213 innings, he has a 4.48 ERA. It's not stellar, and maybe that's why he wants to do the 1-year contracts. I don't know.
I would think that he'd want to look at longer for the security of it all. Maybe he feels like he'll have a great year and he can move on to something. Maybe he just wants to play with a bunch of different teams.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe he does want to just go from team to team, be able to, play here, play there. But that's a gamble, every year. You have a great year, and then maybe, does he sign the multi-year, or does he just say, nope, I'm going to do 1 year, and then that year, is bad. So I don't know. I don't think I'd want to take that gamble. Not, as a pitcher, especially.
And then the question too would be, he's been pretty outspoken on a few things lately. If you find him on Twitter, he's he's usually got some tweets about. He was, big. What is it? Bauer outage
Yeah.
at Bauer outage on Twitter. He's got a lot of things that he said about the Astros. He's been open and honest about, this season, how it all will work out regarding health issues with the coronavirus stuff. So, is that something that a team would say, yeah, we absolutely still want him because he's a good pitcher? They're going to go, I don't know if I want that in my clubhouse.
Yeah, that's a good point because he does bring that to the team, and of course, I mean, the atmosphere in the clubhouse is huge for ball clubs because the amount of games you play, the amount of time you're with these, your teammates, and if you've got one guy that is rubs people the wrong way, it really does make a difference in that clubhouse. And he not shy and he's unapologetic about what he says, and more power to him, but it could hurt him in the long run when it comes down to signing with certain teams, especially.
Right. Well, I can be pretty sure he's not going to sign with the Astros.
I'm pretty sure too. Another, an Astro that's going to be a free agent is George Springer. And this question is, with the scandal, with the Astros, him being a part of it, and then he had injuries. How's that going to affect his free agency?
I think the Astros will re-sign him.
I think so too. You also have Jackie Bradley Jr., who's going to
Right.
be a free agent. Another name, DJ LeMahieu. He played with the Rockies, and he was a solid, good player for them. And then he plays for the Yankees now. And I was really surprised that the Rockies let him go because he was a leader on that team. It didn't seem to bode well for the Rockies when they did that. I think they lost some of that with that consistency in their infield, but he's done really well in New York. So he's
Yeah.
another one that it was his season last season, was it solid enough for him to go into free agency on good footing if there isn't a season?
Right. Yeah, that's the question. I think DJ LeMahieu is probably fine just because you're right. With the Yankees, he had a solid season, and I think that's going to be the question. What's the last thing that we know about this player? Was solid, a year off. Everybody's going to be rusty. I'm sure a lot of players who are on that line, that fence, will get the benefit of the doubt if they had a good season before.
Well, I think Howie Kendrick fits into that category.
Yeah,
I mean,
he definitely does.
it was awesome. I love Howie. If he was back a Dodger, he could be on the Angels. I
He
think
was.
the Nationals probably, yeah, the Nationals probably would hold on to him because he's just that type of player. He's really likable, but he's scrappy. You saw that in the World Series, and he just had the moments, which I was
Right.
really, I was excited for him because he's been a journeyman player for most of his career.
Yeah, there's a lot of players out there that are coming up after the end of this year that'll be free agents. The question that I have coming up, it's maybe not this year, next year. Nolan Arenado has a team option or a
Hmm.
player option. Do you wait and watch for that and go try to get him to opt out? And
Well, I think it's a good chance that he might. The rumblings from Denver can be heard down south where I live. So he's not been quiet about not being happy with the direction that the Rockies are going. I mean, he wants to be on a championship team, and the Rockies have made some moves that just aren't going to get them there.
well, like you said, DJ LeMahieu gone,
Yeah,
Trevor Story
huge. Yes. Yeah.
gone, and then when he comes up with his player option, Charlie Blackmon is up and is a free agent as well. Now I foresee Charlie Blackmon re-signing
I
because he
think so
just
too.
that's a couple of years off now.
Yeah, and
Well, we'll
Charlie
see.
Yeah, and Charlie Blackmon, he is I think, we talk about Justin Turner being the face of the Dodgers. I think Charlie Blackmon, as much as, you have, Nolan Arenado there, I think Charlie Blackmon actually fits into that role for the Rockies.
Yeah.
Um, because if you go to a Rockies game, if you're at Coors Field, his walk up music comes on and the people go wild. They love him and he loves playing there. So I think he stays with the Rockies.
Yeah, I don't see that changing. I wonder though, when we start seeing it once again, all predicated on no season, that next year, where do the teams go as far as signing those down the roster guys, the utility guys? Do players like Cameron Maybin from Detroit, who will be a free agent? He's been with a bunch of different teams. He is, a journeyman as well.
Yeah.
Do they say, look, here's a guy we know what he can do and we can get him relatively inexpensively? Do we want to get that guy to be a solid presence on the team? Do we go around the same money and get someone who's maybe less proven and build from there? So are there
Yeah.
going to be guys who are the younger players who are going to be out of luck, or will they be older players who are out of luck? You mentioned Houston and George Springer. Josh Reddick and Yuli Gurriel are both coming up, and they're both older guys. Will they get picked up by someone? Especially Josh Reddick, who has proven to be an ass
Yeah.
quite
I was
often.
gonna I was gonna say I don't think just the way he is, why would anybody want to sign him? If he stays with the Astros, that's the perfect fit for him because yeah, you're right. He has proven himself to just be a jerk. 100%. I didn't like him when he played with the Dodgers. You try like, root him on and there's just something about him. And then we find out what it is. Um, he put it all out there. It's like, now I know. I couldn't put my finger on it, but now I know.
So with players that are out there that we know are the veterans that are available, they've all signed 1-year contracts or they're coming to the end of a contract. Pitchers like Rich Hill went to Minnesota, signed a 1-year deal. If he doesn't pitch, are they still going to look at whether they want to pick him up another year, or they're going to say, okay, it's not worth it?
Yeah, and he's injured.
Right.
He was on the injured list, I guess, like you said, he still is. So, yeah, do they keep him around?
Another pitcher that I saw that I questioned, uh, Toronto, uh, Matt Shoemaker, who was a longtime Angel,
Mhm.
lot of a lot of injuries. And I don't know if you remember, a few years back, he took a ball off of his head, fractured his skull,
Yes.
and he's one of those pitchers, like a lot of Angels pitchers, flashes of greatness, and then he gets injured, usually pretty severely. And now he's in Toronto, had another injury while he was in Toronto, a free agent after the end of the year. Does having a whole season off help him? Is he just injury prone and you're going to look at his past career and say, okay, let's not bother with him? Or are you going to keep giving him shots until he gets a full season out of it and see what he can do? I kind of feel like in his case, things may be over. But I like any of them, I want all of these guys to succeed. So except for Josh Reddick
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
any other members of the Houston Astros.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. Another one is Giannis Cespedes of the Mets.
Uh-huh.
He's going to be a free agent. He's going to be 35 in October. He missed all of last season, could miss this season. He's played 119 games total since signing a 4-year, $10 million deal after the 2016 season. So for him going into free agency, huge what if for him because nobody's seen him. If there's no season this year, it's 2 years of him not
Right.
playing.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to end up back in with the Mets. just simply because he's not played. It's almost like Giancarlo Stanton over with the Yankees.
Oh yeah.
He's got a player option this year. So he
Mm-hmm.
very well could leave the Yankees if he wants to. I don't see him doing it because he's not got anything to go. I mean, still everybody's still waiting for him to come back. He still has his Miami days are still fresh enough to give him something to work with. I don't see him going as a free agent and not taking his player option. And Cespedes, I think, will be out there in on the open market. He's not even played a whole season over the 4 that he's been there.
Right. Exactly. There's also Marcus Simeon from the A's, who's a shortstop. Last year, he had a breakout season and a season that he's never had before. He was third in the MVP voting for the American League. He hit 33 home runs with a 138 OPS, and he posted an 8.9 WAR, which is more than every other player except Alex Bregman and Cody Bellinger. If he doesn't play this season and they just look at last season, then he should be okay. But do they look at the whole body of work and see mediocre, wow, breakout season, no season? Was it a fluke season? All those questions, where's he going to land in free agency? I think, too, when you're looking at this class of free agents, yeah, there's some big names in there, or names that, are proven, they've done well, but it's not, I guess, the spectacular, sometimes you have that one class of free agents and it's just the hitting power or, whatever it may be, the starting pitchers, and they just really stand out. And this season, not so much, but going into 2021, 22 season, that's where you really see those power players, because you've got, like Freddie Freeman, Anthony Rizzo, Nolan Arenado, who has an opt-out, like you said, Corey Seager, Francisco Lindor, Noah Syndergaard. I think that, too, should be part of a conversation, is looking at this class of free agents going into next season, and then to see who's on the horizon. Do they have their eye on somebody, they get them before that, or do they wait?
Right. And that's what I was wondering, with that thought about, do they take players, the older players that they can get as a bargain, or the younger players at a bargain, and let those guys in the middle kind of stew there, re-sign for a year at their, where they're at or whatever, in the chance that they're going to be able to grab one of those guys.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I mean, because you even have, looking at shortstop, you have Francisco Lindor, Javier Baez, Carlos Correa, yeah, Corey Seager, and Trevor Story.
That's a pretty strong class of shortstop.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens and how it all works out.
Staying at home during the pandemic has been good for delivery services, Amazon, and other similar enterprises. It's also been good for items on eBay, like sports memorabilia.
Yeah, people have more time to go and look through their closet, see what's in there. And a lot of people are pulling out their old baseball cards, finding out, what's it worth. I found a 1986 Topps Tommy Lasorda card, and it's worth $1.50. That's something.
That's a tragedy.
It
should be worth a lot more than that. It's Tommy Lasorda.
I know. I was disappointed to see that it was only $1.50.
Now, I wonder, because you said that's a 1986 card.
Yeah.
I wonder if in 81 or 88, when they won the World Series, if those cards are worth more.
Probably. I would think maybe they probably are. Yeah. 86 season was not memorable.
What else did you find?
Steve Garvey, 1977 Topps card. So depending on the quality, it could be either worth $4 or $750.
I'm pretty sure I have that card. Pretty sure that mine's probably more close to the $4 Even though I would have taken care of it, it's just set there. It's not been in protective covering or anything. It's just been
Right.
in a box.
Well, and it was interesting too. I was looking at Nolan Ryan and his 1968 Nolan Ryan Topps rookie card. Now, this is on eBay, but it's $25,000 plus for
Wow.
his rookie card. Now, another thing that's interesting is you could get Nolan Ryan cards on Twinkie boxes.
Right. Yeah, I may have a Nolan Ryan Twinkie. I may even have, I think one that I remember just as I was saying it, I could remember the bottom of the box. It was like Lee Lacy when he was with the Dodgers. Don't know. Don't ask me why I remember that specific one, but they had them all. Steve Carlton was on there. Pete Rose, Grandpa, when he was going to work every day, he'd make his lunch and they'd buy a box of Twinkies or Ding Dongs or something, and they'd have them on the bottom. So when they were finished with the box, he, more than Grandma, and Grandma was always the one that would do this stuff, he would cut those cards out and give them to me whenever I showed up, because we didn't get that stuff at our house. Only Grandpa
No,
got those things.
that's right. We didn't get the Twinkies. All the good stuff was at Grandma and Grandpa's. The good magazines like the National Enquirer, all
The
that
Globe.
stuff. The Globe that we got to read. That's what I say is I learned how to read at Grandma and Grandpa's because I got to read the National Enquirer.
Doesn't matter what you're reading, just that you're reading, right?
That's exactly right. Going back at looking at baseball cards, the most expensive baseball card that sold at auction was a 1909 T206 Honus Wagner card, and it was sold at auction in 2016 for $3.12 million.
Wow. That's not bad for a guy who had 828 errors in his career. That'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB.
As well as Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. We'd love to hear what you think. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. Don't forget, subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Join us next week as we share another harebrained idea, and it's a real doozy.
And we talk about which player we'd like to see run over by a bus. No, it's not Josh Fields.